A house is made of wood and stone, but only love can make a home. Welcome to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, helping you make your home into one you'll love even more. Here are your hosts, Dan Hansen and Betsy Thompson.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, Betsy.
Good morning, Dan.
Yeah, so you're here. So this is kind of funny, right? It's a little bit of dishonesty in advertising, I think. Last week we talked about how you weren't going to be here anymore for a little bit and had a whole big deal about the send-off and all of that, and yet here you are.
Well, that's because I'm feeling a little bad because, the surgery happened right before Father's Day, so I figured I would take one last opportunity to wish my dad a happy Father's Day since it's really not going to be very much fun this year. So I felt the need to just, give a little bit before I went to surgery.
Yeah, so we're recording this on Monday, June 15. It will air, on Saturday this coming.
Yes,
I'm not sure what that date's going to be. But anyway, the calendar knows, and we'll figure out the date when we get there.
Right.
So anyway, that's why Betsy's back. It's just going to be for one segment, this opening segment, because we've got a very bizarre rest of the show. I would say it's probably the most bizarre show that we've ever thrown out there. And we saved it for this one because if anybody grumbles about this show, we've got an excuse. You were really undergoing surgery during the week that we would normally record this. So
Well, and you have all those pre-op things, you gotta, nowadays you gotta go get a COVID test before you can have surgery. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a hectic week. So we have been very limited in our time.
Right. So we've got this bizarre show, as I've said, and please, you are going to want to hang around through the whole thing because it is really, really good stuff. It's just really outside of the realm of what we normally do. We're going to be talking dating because I've got kids who are dating.
Yes.
And we ran into one of our old guests from the past, Joe Coons, Navy SEAL.
Yes.
Joe Coons, who talks about, everything from survival skills to, team building stuff. We've had him on the show talking about a number of things about staying safe and stuff like that.
Right.
Being vigilant in our homes. And anyway, I was talking to him about some dating dilemmas that I was agonizing over.
Right.
And Joe, off the mic, off the record, launched into one of the most brilliant discussions I have ever heard about dating.
Yes.
If you're a grandparent, if you're a parent, if you're going to be a parent, if you've got teens, if you're going to have teens who are dating, you're going to want to tune into this. I'm not saying you're going to agree with everything.
Right.
But it is so thoughtful and so interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be 3 segments worth. It's funny. I mean, everything about it is fun, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. And Joe is always a blast. So, that helps.
Yeah. So that's coming up the rest of the show. And yes, we understand. It's somewhat outside the realm of home improvement.
Yeah, but it's improving your home one teen at a time.
There you go. One teen at a time. That's the way to do it. Except I had twins right off the bat. So I had to do 2 at a time.
Yeah, well. Right.
Anyway, that's coming up next. You're going to want to tune into that. You're not going to want to miss it. As bizarre as it sounds, it's definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to.
Right.
Right now, though, let's do something that is a little more straightforward. Now, you got your wish for your dad's Happy Father's Day out of the way?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
You did well with that. Happy Father's Day to my father as well. And kind of late to the game there. But, hey, Dad, You know me. That's pretty much better than normal, right? So anyway, let's talk about something that's on sale right now at RepcoLite, and it's on sale through June 30, and it's something that everybody out there, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are looking at their decks. We talk about decks all the time, and they're thinking, I should probably do something to it. Well, one of our favorite, probably our favorite deck coating to recommend is on sale for $13 off a gallon. So a pretty big savings.
Yeah.
Save $13 on every gallon now through June 30, and it's RepcoLite's Deck and Dock. We've talked about it before. It's a toner coat. It gives you UV protection and water repellency. But there is something interesting about it that we haven't really dug into on the show before that's worth talking about.
Yeah, everyone goes to certain products that make the water beat up on their deck, and they think that that's what you're looking for. Water repellency is the water beating up on your deck, and that means that it's protected. And when they see our product and they watch the water disperses across the deck. It doesn't beat up. And there's actually a really good reason for that. And the reason is if you get those little beads of water, they act like magnifying glasses when the sun comes out and starts to dry it all out. And you know what happens when you put a magnifying glass on something? It heats up. And so what you're doing is heating up the coating if you have a product that beads the water up. Ours disperses it so you don't have that magnifying glass look and feel to it.
Right. It will spread it out thin. It evaporates quicker. It gets it off your deck quicker.
Yep.
And the other ones with the heavy beads, it actually stays there longer. It does more damage. And it's just one of those really crazy marketing things where a company has made a name and a living off of those water beads, when in fact, that's actually not the best way to go. So you might want to consider another alternative. And Deck and Dock from RepcoLite is a great option. We've got a number of other deck products out there. Whatever your situation, we can help you get the right deck product. But Deck and Dock, really great option. It comes with 4 colors and a clear. And we always like to point out that those clears don't give you very much UV protection. So the product will gray. The wood will gray over time. If you want to protect it from that, you go with something with a little bit of a color. Again, it's on sale till June 30 for about $13 off a gallon. Now, Betsy, we're going to take a break, and then we are going to go to an old interview with Joe Coons, Navy SEAL, talking about dating. That's all just ahead. Stay tuned.
Helping you turn your house into your dream home. This is the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, presented by Benjamin Moore on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Betsy Thompson.
And we're in the studio with Joe Coons from Cover Down Consulting. Joe, thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here again.
Yeah, Joe's been on before. Mm-hmm. Navy SEAL. You talked about keeping our kids safe. He demanded a punch card so that when he comes back, we punch that and you get a free gallon of paint, I think, in the end.
That's right. I think I'm about up to 5 right now. I don't know what the requirement is, but I would say probably 5's good.
Yeah.
Right now, at least he's earned free coffee.
Yeah, he's getting coffee, a sandwich, and then we'll get him that paint.
Eventually.
I didn't know about the sandwich.
It's not going to be a very good sandwich.
Dan's going to make it. You may not want to eat it.
No, it's already made. I've had it in the fridge for a while. I don't know what to do with
now
it.
It looks like his science project. I don't know that is safe to eat.
Yeah.
I've eaten a lot of things, so.
So have I. I've learned, I talked about that, but never, ever, ever eat leftovers in the dark while watching a movie. Always have the light on first to make sure of what you're eating. I've eaten leftovers that were not cool.
You ever eat crow?
I eat a lot of crow.
That's his favorite dish, and it's
that
usually served cold.
Yeah.
Anyway, dirty sock and all.
Joe was here. He visited a few weeks ago.
Yeah, stopped by.
Just to visit, and we were talking. And I don't remember how we got there, but we ended up talking about dating.
Yeah, because you got 2 kids dating now.
I got 2 kids that are dating, and the whole thing, just kids in general, it's always a new adventure.
Yeah.
Got 5 kids, and I always thought when they were little, the diapers, and that was just mind-boggling, and other things for me. And then once I thought we got through that, I thought we'd be good. And then there was the next problem and the next problem. And then I thought, they'll be teenagers, and they'll be, I'll have the teen things where we'll fight. That's what I expected. And that part was okay. But then dating completely, I was not prepared for dating.
Well, it's a whole new world from when we grew up. I mean, now you're in the day of social media and things being out there and movies, and everything is right at their fingertips 24 hours a day.
Well, and they're not even remotely like me, because I don't think I dated really until I was
out of college.
Girls were so scary.
I was going to say, what are you talking about? You're still scared of me.
I am. I'm scared of everybody. But anyway, we were talking, and as the conversation came around to that, I realized, Joe, I don't know how you did it and how you came up with a plan, but Joe had a plan going into dating. Because the thing that, in the conversation, that really just leveled me, and I realized how unprepared I was. is when you talked about one of these rules that you've got for your daughters. And the big rule was the boys need to meet you first.
That's correct. They have to call me, and then they have to meet me first before they go anywhere with my daughter.
Right. And let's just try to springboard from that, because I don't know how many people, I mean, how did you have that plan from the beginning, or did that kind of evolve as your children started this process?
I think it kind of evolved over time. I mean, I watched other people go through this process, listened to their trials that they had to go through, and a lot of their failures. So I kept my mouth shut, and I just listened. And I go, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. Or I'm thinking, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And so from my past, from how I grew up, which I grew up in a good family, but my parents did a terrible job when it came to managing us when we dated, my sister and myself and my brother. It was kind of just like, yeah, go for it, whatever, no good advice, no guidance in a lot. And then my wife is kind of the opposite. She didn't have a very good childhood experience, and she got no guidance at all. But I think through hit and miss over time, like you said, we come from a different era where things weren't as complicated in the sense of social media and all the other things that are out there that expose us, and I think in all how the culture can affect us.
Sure.
Right.
Because it's right there in our face every single day. Mm-hmm. So I look at it this way. You guys are in the painting business, or I look at it like kind of maintenance, right? You're always trying to fix something or
Normally I broke the thing.
Yeah. So
I'm still trying to fix it.
Right.
So even, you try to stay ahead of it enough so you don't have to spend tons of money to replace it or whatever if you take care of it. And I think the same thing with our kids. I was looking at this when we brought up the subject, is you have to lay a really good foundation at an early age. And so it makes life a lot easier when they're 16, 17, 18. And I think of it this way. Somebody told me once, says, you see that kid when they're 5 or 6 and they're in the store and they're throwing that tantrum, and you think it's kind of cute because they want this or the way they're acting, or maybe he goes, just think about that when they're 16. If you don't do anything about it, you're not going to be able to do anything when they're 16 or 17. I mean, they're going to be too big for you to even control, and you haven't set any good habits. So again, starting at a young age and impressing upon your kids the importance of a lot of good, as far as what relationships look like. How do you and your wife or your spouse or whoever, do you live that every day? Between your communications, how you respect each other, how you love each other, all those things. Those are imprinting on your kids daily of what's it supposed to look like. And I know that we have so many broken families these days. And kids that are coming from, either they don't have good imprinting or they haven't seen a good example. And so they will settle for less. And so when, my daughters always knew when they met somebody, or they very well would observe how they were being treated, how they treated their parents, their siblings, all these different things, because that would give them a good idea how they would be treated.
So they did that because you impressed that upon them, not just by living it, but you actually had the conversation with them.
Yes,
look for these things.
Yes, I mean, we would always talk about things, but we definitely would have to live them, because with kids, it doesn't matter what you say, it's what you do. They're very smart. So you can say one thing, but if you're doing a totally different thing, it's not going to work out too well. I mean, so they're always going to fall back on, hey, what did mom and dad do, or how did this work, or
Sure.
Or again, picking their friends. One of my things is, kids don't have rights; they have privileges that you give them, and one of them is you pick their friends. They don't get to pick their friends.
Okay, talk about that, because that seems so heavy-handed, Joe.
So listen, as your kids are little, they don't know what the difference is as far as, if you give them too many choices, you ruin them. You don't give kids choices. You don't give them choices to eat. It's like, this is what we're eating, you eat it. But parents give kids so many choices, and kids will choose usually the funnest things, and usually they're the worst things for you. As far as when it comes to diet, it comes to friends and other things, because they don't know any better. And so I think we would be very proactive in picking or who our children played with. And again, our kids just wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
Our girls just wanted to play and have nice friends. And so if there was some friends that were not nice or were not acting correctly, or their environment of where they would play, like at a certain place, like maybe their house was not safe, in the respects.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So we would create those environments, again, at our house, and at the same time, we would guide our kids to the right friends so they would grow up seeing what that looked like, those relationships look like. And then there were times when we basically would say, no, you're not playing with them.
Okay. I think I've been in that boat. I guess growing up, I remember situations where that came about with mom and dad doing the same type of thing.
Yeah, my parents did that. I think it was very common, at least when we were growing up. Now I don't know that it's so common, but when we were growing up, it was.
We have a tendency to, we want to be so open. I guess that's where things feel like it is right now. We want to, be laid back.
We want our kids to like us so much that we open up the world to them. Well, here, you can choose these things because it'll make you happy.
Right. And we don't want to be heavy-handed. We don't want to feel that way because it feels so wrong. And that was one of the things that was interesting when you talked about your daughters having to, the guys having to meet you first. How is that practically played out? Did they enjoy that process?
Our daughters?
Anybody. Did anybody like that process?
You know what? There was always this tension, kind of like, well, my daughters would always have to give their spiel like, well, before we can go out or do anything, you have to meet my parents. And it was kind of like, because they didn't know. My daughters weren't sure how we were going to act. They know how we were going to act, but they were like, I really like this guy, or I want this to work, but my parents are going to see right through all the garbage really fast, because when you're seeking something, and again, necessarily it's not love yet, but love is blind. We get to see all the imperfections that our daughters or our sons don't see because they're so infatuated or whatever with this person. They just push all the negative stuff,
right, sure,
back, or put it in the closet for right now, and it'll usually rear its ugly head sooner or later. But after a while, that's just the norm, and our kids learn to trust our judgment, because we would kind of let these play out a little bit, and then usually they would go bad to some degree, but not out of control, because we never let it get that far. Right. And our daughters would start to say, hey, like I have one daughter that my youngest daughter was like, Dad, you cannot pick my husband for me. My older daughter, Dad, you pick whoever you want. I'm good with that. You got good, so I have two different spectrums. And it was funny because, usually when they would bring a gentleman over, or we would get introduced, and again, it's not just me. My wife is a key role player in this, and she has very good discernment and intuition, and she would see right through them. And usually she'd be the one who would be going, nope.
Like right there?
Oh, well, no. Afterwards, we'd have a debrief.
It's not like American Idol or something.
No. But we would definitely, it would play out, and we'd have these long discussions, and we would kind of dissect a lot of things.
Wow.
And just say, is this somebody? And we would discuss this with our daughters and say,
that's the key part. It wasn't just a heavy-handed, gave the verdict. It's a discussion. And I want to get into more of that, where that moved really fast, that time.
It always does.
Joe, can you hang with us over the break? I'll punch your card again.
Yes.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back in the studio with Joe Coons from Cover Down Consulting, talking about dating. Whoever thought I'd say that on the air?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back.
Uh-huh.
And we have branched into territory we've never gone before.
The dating world.
Yeah, home improvement, the dating edition, I guess. But yet, so much of home life and everything. We've kind of stretched what the show means anyway. We talk about fixing stuff, but we also talk about, living the best life we can at home.
Right.
And that means keeping our family safe.
Mm-hmm.
We have the fire marshal here talking about stuff like that. Joe's been here before. And now dating, because my kids Because the other part of the show is me fixing my problems
Well,
by bringing experts in while I'm working. I don't have to do it during normal hours.
Right.
But anyway, my kids are starting this dating process, and in talking to Joe's from Cover Down Consulting, a Navy SEAL. You do a lot of things with safety, and I mean, just talk a little bit about Cover Down Consulting and what you do.
Well, Cover Down Consulting is just my LLC I kind of hide under for doing whatever. And so I do vigilance training. I do like mentoring of young men who are trying to pursue possibly a military career or just a military team building, leadership kind of stuff. And then also I farm myself out in the security side as far as doing security assessments and training an active shooter in different roles. So
sure.
Whatever. I can usually fit it in if it works like that. I haven't really been asked to do, like dating stuff.
Well, here you go.
Yeah.
Look,
so I can
we're
add
branching
this,
you out.
Yeah, I'll add this to my repertoire.
Right now, Betsy and I are the safest we have ever been, probably.
Probably sitting
Unless
in
I
this room
make Joe
with
angry, then that flips quickly.
Well, I'm still safe. You're not.
Yeah, you're perfectly fine. Now, what I want to get back to is, in the last segment, you talked about how you make the guy who's going to maybe date your daughter basically sit down and talk to you first. He's got to meet you first. What in the world does that look like? Because I'm getting ready to do something like that. I told the kids that's where we're going. But I'm curious, what am I doing in this meeting?
You're kind of doing an evaluation, and you're setting a standard for the young gentleman, hopefully he's a gentleman, that you care deeply, you and your wife care deeply about your daughter, and that he needs to be very careful of what he does, what he subjects her to, all those things, how he speaks to her, because you will be very upset, and whatever that looks like to you, but he should be kind of concerned and afraid that he's basically taking out your precious cargo, the daughter that you raised, you and your wife has spent maybe 15, 16, 18 years an investment, and then you're just going to turn it over to somebody for a night and he can do whatever he wants or whatever. That's like, no, not at all. And so if the gentleman keeps, he passes the first test, second test, and he's starting to come over more. And again, I would suggest always coming and meeting and having him sit down and have a meal. We usually have him, invite him over for dinner the first time. Let's see how he acts at a dinner, how he interacts. Let's learn about his...
Like if he burps a lot or something.
How's he relationship with his parents? Does he talk highly of them? Does he talk highly of his siblings? Is he part... So you can see his mannerisms. Because over time, you can only hide so much over time. He can kind of, maybe fool some people, but over time it's going to catch up. And that's where, so the more time you get to spend with him, ask questions, see how he acts, all these different things, the more clear picture and the truth you get to see.
Yeah.
It is an interview. When he first comes in here and I meet, I want to see his eye contact. I want to feel his handshake. I want to see if he's sure about himself, he has confidence, how he treats, he reacts to my wife's going to be standing there. Usually my other daughter's going to be standing there, and she's a good judge of character.
She's got a lead pipe. Your wife has a wrench. They're thumping them in their little palms.
Yeah.
But think about that. I mean, that as well. It's an interview.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Think about all the interviews that we hold, or that you've been through when a job, we're looking to hire somebody. We don't want to hire the wrong person.
Right.
And so we go through these careful interview processes. And then our children, like you said, the most valuable thing we have, we don't even think about that. A lot of us. You had this statement about, how did you put it, about the car, the classic car thing? And that so profoundly impacted me.
Yeah, I was, I don't know where I heard this a long time ago, but somebody, again, I keep my mouth shut and my ears open.
Yeah.
And now it's probably the opposite, my wife would tell you. But somebody told me, would you allow some guy off the street, if you had a classic car you restored, you put all this time and energy into, and then he just came and knocked on your door one day and said, hey, let me have it. Can I borrow the keys to your car? And
you go.
Yeah, here you go.
Here's my card. You can fill up the gas on the way.
Yeah, and there's insurance covered. Don't worry about it. You do it. You would never do that.
Never.
But what we do with our kids, my daughters are the most important things in my life besides my wife, and why would I do the same thing with them? I wouldn't. I would never let some stranger that I do not know come and trust them with my daughter's life or whatever it is.
But aren't you being like super overly protective at that point?
Oh, why not? Yeah.
Exactly.
Listen, I was a young man growing up, and I know what goes through your mind, and I wasn't even. I don't even would say that I was kind of like you at the time. I grew up and
you cried a lot.
I cried a lot. I was scared of girls, all this stuff, and
well, I don't remember saying all of that. Joe, it's like he knows me.
No, but
you've met.
But again, over the years, you gain a little bit of experience and a little bit of wisdom, and I figured, I'm gonna apply this. And again, me and my wife have talked about this. We've set down guidelines how we're going to do this, so that's something important too. You just don't one day when your kid turns whatever and they start dating, you go, hey, we haven't really thought about this. What are we going to do?
Sometimes parents do that.
I know.
I'm doing that right now.
I know. That's why I'm saying if you're smart, you start thinking about
thanks,
that.
Joe. Normally that's Betsy's role to make fun of me.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Joe.
You start thinking ahead of time.
And you start sensitizing your kids to saying what a relationship looks like. You talk about those things. You demonstrate to those things. You start saying, you're not dating until you're 21 or you're not dating. So they, in their mind, my dad says I'm not dating 21. So when you let them date at 20, they look like they won.
Yeah.
I'm winning. And really.
So, Joe, we're running to the end of this break, and there's still more that I want to get to. We don't normally keep people for 3.
No.
Will you stay
But
for a
Joe
third?
is so good.
Will you stay for a third segment?
Oh, yeah. I got nowhere else to go.
Don't tell him that.
Excellent. We'll be back in just a minute with Joe Coons from Cover Down Consulting. Stay tuned.
Well, I was going to go paint my house, but...
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute.
Well, by all means.
Oh, it's free paint anyway, right?
Yeah.
Forget it. Yeah. All right, we'll be back.
If you want to take your DIY skills up a rung, the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show is here to give you a boost on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
And we're back. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Betsy Thompson.
And we are still in the studio with Joe Coons from Cover Down Consulting. And during the last break, Joe mentioned that he had a question that he wanted to ask Betsy, and it was a direction that I thought was pretty interesting. So let's just go with that. Joe, let's ask your question.
So, Betsy, seeing that you're part of this conversation, and again, I have it from a different perspective from my wife, but as from a single woman who doesn't have kids yet, but say if you did have a daughter, and again, you went through this whole process, you've dated as a girl, and I don't really know your past, but what would be... Now that you've learned over the years from your experience, what would you require of someone who was calling on to your daughter, or how would you approach that?
Oh, I would be fiercely protective because I've been through a lot in my life. And first of all, I wouldn't want my kids making the same mistakes that I did. And I would want them to be held to that higher standard. I guess I would want them to be like the idealized, okay, it's exactly what you said. And that's the way my grandpa used to do things. I mean, even the day his daughters got married, he would threaten the guy and say, you better take care of her. She's now yours to take care of. If you don't, there are an awful lot of us, and you're going to deal with every single last one of us. So I guess from my perspective, it's that. It's my family is going to back me up, and you are going to be sorry if you don't take care of this person. So, yeah, I think it's exactly what you're saying. I would want to know who you're dating. I don't want to just... Because I do know how it goes nowadays. Social media, I don't know. Don't get me started on social media because it opens the doors. Anyone can be whoever they want to be on social media. They can say whatever they want. And I think that it opens up doors, bad doors, not even good doors. There are some things that I still don't understand because, like there are social media apps and things that I just don't even get involved with. But I've heard the horror stories, oh, you can just take a picture and, 3 minutes later or whatever, it's gone.
Right.
And wait a minute. So you've got kids who are doing this? There's no way I would let my kids do that because I don't know what's going on then because there's no evidence left.
Right.
So it's a terrifying thing. I'm actually kind of glad I don't have kids nowadays because it's just the world is not what I grew up in.
It's hard to keep
so
up
different.
with it. I'm techie, and it's hard for me to keep up with. I can learn software, no problem.
Yeah.
It just takes me a little bit. It just clicks in my head, and then the kids are talking about TikTok and Snapchat, and I can't even wrap my brain around exactly what all these goofy things are. And, as goofy as they sound, I think there's a lot of potential for danger.
Well, I guess
there.
even being an adult female, I know the ways that guys will manipulate things and how they use the internet and how they use their phones. And it makes me terrified for younger females who are very potentially naive and just don't quite understand the way the world works and how, there are guys out there. Yeah, they can seem this way. They seem very trustworthy and whatever. But you're just seeing this surface thing and you're young and you don't understand what you're actually seeing, where it takes the adults in your life to say, listen, and you have to train your kids to, listen to what you're saying. It's not just, I'm telling you this because I'm the adult and I'm the parent. No, I'm telling you this because I've seen it. I know from experience, and I'm seeing something that you're not because I am older. I have been through it. I've been there.
Vigilance comes in a lot of different ways, and not just physical, but like, again, on the cyber side and the protecting your kids mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all those different things. But there's this, and I brought this up to you, I think, before too, but Protect Young Eyes is a local organization that really covers all those concerns that parents have with technology. And they, you can go onto their website. I use them all the time because they dissect the current apps that are out there, and they tell you everything that's good and bad about them and what age it's should be to, and they talk about the back doors and how to set the security parental parameters on there or security. Okay. And so they have so many resources. I would definitely look into that because, like you said, technology and that is going. It's just coming so fast, we can't keep up with it. So
what was that again?
Protect Young Eyes.
That's a local?
Yeah, it's a local organization, but it's countrywide. Okay. But it's on the internet. You look up their website. They have, like I said, all kinds of resources, and it'll tell you about every app out there that your kids are using and how they are trying. And they are using those apps to get around your security parameters or whatever, to talk to other people, unknowns, through different chat mechanisms on there, and how they're sending photos. So it's a really beneficial site, but it's dangerous out there.
I am terrified. But I need to dig into it, right?
Yeah, you need to. Like I said, it's very user friendly, and they have seminars for free, usually around this area. You look up, they'll list them, but at different churches or whatever, and you go there for 2 hours and listen to one of their speakers. They're very good, but it really opens your eyes, especially if you have younger kids that are dealing with whatever. Even anybody should be concerned about some of those apps, because people can be spying on you through those apps, through your location, through video, through nothing's safe anymore.
No, I was just on I don't know where I saw it. It was some social media thing. Maybe it was Facebook. And I had because we hear a lot of these things, and it seems like you'll see them posted or shared on Facebook. Somebody tried to interact with my daughter, on a social media site, right? You've seen that before. And it's always from somewhere else. But this was one from one of the people I know from high school, posts that his daughter was getting screenshots of the phone, and it was some older guy just interacting, and he found it, dug into it, and
it doesn't just happen in big cities.
No, it happens around here. Protect Young Eyes.
Protect, young eyes.
Okay, very cool. We'll dig into that.
You don't have to be young, but just one of those things. And on that, the most current newsletter I got from them, they were saying how one of the newest scams for young people is how they coerce people to get into the sex trafficking kind of business is through extortion. Usually they either say they have a video or pictures of you, in compromising situations, naked, whatever, and they use that over your head to get more. And usually what the scam is now, they're saying to these young people, they already have these pictures of them. they had a secret camera in their house or whatever, and the kids don't know, and so they're very gullible, or they're
terrified,
and so they don't want anybody. They don't want that to get let loose on social media because
they buy into the.
So they buy into it, and they send them more or real stuff that they never had, and they start to blackmail them and extort them, and they get them to do all kinds of other things. And this is a terrible thing that's going on right now because again, we're not having those conversations with our kids. And we're not educating them about those devices, and we're not being in their business. You know, I had a friend when I was in the SEAL teams, Tim Taylor. He was an older gentleman. I don't know if I told you about this before, but anyways, we were on deployment. And every time we were on deployment, wherever we were at, we would be over on some holiday usually. And so Tim Taylor would disappear on that day, and he would spend most of his day on the telephone talking to his 7 other siblings or his parents. You know, they'd all get together and they'd and they're all grown up. I mean, most of them are married, but I'd say, hey Tim, man, what do your brothers and sisters do? And he goes, oh, I got, one's a lawyer, one's a doctor, I got another one, all of them prestigious, good, healthy marriages and all this. I go, wow. And your mom and dad had 7 of these, and it's everybody successful and doing well. He goes, oh yeah. I go, man, your dad and mom were lucky. He goes, Joe, luck had nothing to do with it. A man came up to my dad one day, and he said, man, you are so lucky that your kids turned out the way they did. He goes, my dad got in his face and said, luck had nothing to do with it. I was in every part of their life, in all their business all the time. He goes, it's a full-time job. He goes, that's why they turned out the way they did, because I was in their business. And that's what you got to do, yeah. Whether you start today or 10 years ago or whatever, it's never too late to start, okay? Never too late. I tell that to any parent. Like I said, if you're saying, well, I didn't lay my foundation, well, start now and do it in a way and have those good talks with your kids. Sit down and talk about things and explain to them how you screwed up. I tell my kids, hey, I was screwed up when I was younger a little bit. Or my parents didn't take the time. If my parents would have just sat down and told me some of these things or asked me to do some of these things, I would have honored that. But they didn't, so I didn't think it was wrong. So all kinds of different things, but in that respect, but be a parent,
And get started now.
Yeah, definitely. So much you can do, so much. And there's so many resources, so yeah, do it.
Joe, if our listeners want to get in touch with you at Cover Down Consulting to lodge their ideas about dating and talk that out with you, or if they want to bring you in for team building or any of the things that you talked about, how's the best way to get in touch?
Probably my... email,
which is
J Kuhns
Joe Coons, J Coons
coverdown at gmail.com.
J Coons coverdown at gmail.com.
Yeah.
Joe Coons, thanks for being here. Thanks for keeping us safe. Now we're going to be on our own, and hopefully we'll do okay. I think we'll be all right, don't you?
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
He knows you'll be fine as long as I take care of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's my number 2 pencil.
There we go. I got that. That'll help me. And yeah, I'll weep uncontrollably if somebody threatens me, and they won't feel good about themselves.
And you cower in the corner.
Joe, thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Well, Betsy, that's it. No more time. We have solved a number of problems this week, most of them revolving around dating. Who would have ever thought, huh?
Who would have thought?
Yeah. If you want to check this one out again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. And while you're there, make sure you stop by our online store, and you can order that deck and dock product that we talked about on sale. You can also order a number of other products and pick them up curbside if you'd like. Whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. I'm Dan Hansen.
And I'm Betsy Thompson. Remember, if you're about to lose your DIY sanity, we can help you fix that crazy.
And we can help you make your deck into exactly the space you want for the summer. And if your kids are coming to bring over their boyfriends and girlfriends and enjoy time on that deck, we can make sure that they're bringing the right boyfriend and the girlfriend over. Who'd have ever thought we could fix that too?
It's like a Father's Day gift.
For everybody except the kids.
Right.
Thanks for listening.